Jumping
I
back to
see
what we
you.
were talking about before JB pivoted,
My bad. My bad.
race theory, all good. Do y'all feel it will ever be a time, uh, or do y'all think it will be necessary for us to be desegregated again?
Ooh.
And not speaking because a lot of us we have blended families and friends and all that stuff. I'm thinking not just so it's not a personal thing; it's an overall thing.
So I was um it was a professor back at Southern University who threw out a theory and he asked somebody, he was like, if you decide to go into public policy and you decide to go get a doctorate, I challenge your thesis to be where would America be if we resegregated?
Mm.
And what his question was, if we took this nation and cut this nation up into sections, African American, European American, Indian American, and Latino American. And we broke it, and we took this time zones and we cut them up into those four cultures. And we took the people and said, if you're the East Coast, you are the Indian American. Actually, I take it back. He cut it into five because he added the Asian American. So he said, cut the United States into these five Americans, and you basically you reorganize the government into these five. So you have these five sections. They get their senators. So the people in the African American in section, they get their senators, they get their House of Representatives. Latinos get theirs, Asian American get theirs, European American get theirs. Everybody moves how they move. They have their own militaries. They have their own. They come to one. There's one country that all has their own senator. Is one country with their own senators and House of Representatives, but
Yeah.
they all got veto power.
Mm.
So if the African Americans, Latino Americans, and Asian Americans they see some of the European Americans and the Indian Americans doing, and they're like, we don't really like that, and so they veto it. They have the right and power to veto. He wanted us to. He asked. He was like, study that and see what would happen. Which section would be the most powerful section, and which section would have the most influence? Because if we started to like what's the word? Not copyright, but if we started to like
Appropriate?
if you appropriate take hip hop culture.
Yeah.
If we started to like say like hip hop, if you using hip hop, that belongs to the African American sector. So when you use it, they get royalties.
Trademark, copyright.
Trademark, they have the rights to those things. So when you start using stuff like that, that's part of theirs that they brought about, they brought to fruition, and now it's a part of the culture, and you're using it, they get royalties. Like it's part of their section of the country. He's like, you would be surprised who would be the most powerful and who would be the most dependable. Because like if you watch it, he was like, and that's the issue they have. If you start to do some stuff like that, if you started to make country, because the best thing that they have right now, the biggest advantage they have is separation.
Mm-hmm.
The best advantage they have right now, Latinos are much farther removed from European Americans than they are from African Americans. Asians are a lot further removed from European Americans than African Americans. They're all much further removed. So if you start to step back and separate and be like, okay, wait a minute, African Americans got the same power as European Americans. So we all on the even playing field. So who's going to be the most innovative? Who's going to move the things the most? Asian Americans, they're probably going to hold technology down. They're going to lock it down easy. Agriculturally, it's probably going to land in the Latino space. So when you think about your foods, farming, agriculture, all those things, you're gonna get most of that from the Latino American community. Housing, you probably gonna get that mostly from the Latino community, building homes, getting all that started. When you think about technology, it's probably gonna come from the Asian community. When you think about Indians, you probably gonna think about commodity. When you think about spices and elegance and like high end, like fancy stuff, that's where you're gonna get Indians. You think African Americans, they're gonna drive just culture, like they're just gonna be the innovators. They're gonna be the ones who are gonna come to the table and like, we have intellectual property. We can come up with stuff that build, you can build these fancy houses, but we're gonna come up with the concept. So we have an intellectual property. What does that leave European Americans?
Nothing.
That was gonna be my question. I was gonna say, go ahead. What's that one?
Yeah, because
it's and when you look at that, because if you really think about it right now in this world, what that leaves them is the financial piece. But if you break it out and you move that finances away from them, because finances is really just that's more of a stubborn sector. That's more of a you put certain things in place, i.e. credit scores. You put things in place that don't allow innovation, agriculture, housing, elaborate, like illustrious things. All that falls. You really can't do. You can come up with everything. You can have the ability to do it, but if you don't have the capital, you really can't move on it. So if you separate them like that, capital doesn't become yours because you don't control all the banking anymore, because each sector now controls their own banking.
That's heavy.
Now these trillions of dollars are not controlled by 50. The finance, the capital is not controlled by 100 senators, predominantly from the European American race. When you separate all 5 of them out, that means there's 20 senators that belong to the Indian Americans, Asian Americans, Latino Americans, European Americans, and African Americans. So those 100 senators are now divided into 20. That you only got 20. So you got to work now to get another, what? You got to work to get another 31 to be on your side.
Right.
And it ain't just like, oh, we in this together. No. Because I don't see how you benefiting my constituents. I don't see how you benefiting them. So when you talk about why they do it, bro, it'll shake this world up if we did some stuff like that. Because the other thing you got to think about, the 5 that I just brought out, think about this. Who has the biggest land mass? And when you think of, if you think about geographically and you break those 5 out, African Americans have the largest land mass, because if African Americans had 20 senators and they stood on representatives and they had their own capital control, and you have a whole continent of Africa that they can play ball in, that's a different story. Asian Americans, they got the continent of China. Latino Americans, they got Southern America. Indians, they got India America. I mean, they got India. What European Americans got? Europe.
Yeah. That little ass country.
It would change the game. Like, you'd be like, bro, when you step back and look at stuff like this, you'd be like, if we all started to work together, it would change it, because and that's why division is so important, because it literally would take people to start to work together. That's why slavery did what it did, how it did it. When they let us out, when they freed us, they didn't teach us nothing. They just said, oh, you free. They didn't teach us nothing. They just said, go figure it out. And because of that, it was survival of the fittest.
Right.
And when it became survival of the fittest, you like, I got mine. I don't know how you're going to get yours. That's why they allowed, like, when more people, you saw African Americans moving up east, and they was like, we don't want no problem. So when these slaves come up east, we going to send you back south, because now they're going to want to try and take over the east, because they're like, well, the eastern people not supporting, giving us our property back. Well, now it's a division. Like, yo, I know you're African American, but you came from the South. I know you trying to be free, but I don't want no trouble from the South. So I'm going to push you back your way. Division. It all boils down to division. So
go
that's my rant on it.
No, I got you.
Well, and it's kind of interesting too. When you said that, the first thing I thought of was the last Black Panther movie that came out. And did you guys see that?
I did.
Okay.
What last Black Panther movie? Who was it? Which one was it? The one when they killed him in his sleep at his house?
What?
No, this was the one where his, should I say it? Yeah, because it's been out
His
for a while.
sister. Yeah.
His sister was Black Panther. Oh,
You ain't seen it?
What's the name of the movie?
Wakanda Forever 2.
Oh.
You gotta watch the movie. You can't even talk about it.
No.
Oh, I didn't know it was called. I didn't know. Oh, you said Black Panther.
Yeah.
Oh.
You still no. It's still a no.
No.
It's a what?
I was so in my. I was